Well, if you're going to malign a group of people and you're going to call them scum coming from shithole countries that need to be taken off the streets, that came out of jails and mental asylums, a federal judge might think that the policy you're passing to revoke their temporary protective status and to be able to stay in the United States, may be motivated by racial animus and bias and prejudice, which is illegal and unconstitutional. And that's what Judge Chen, another San Francisco federal judge, they are pulling the wagon here to protect democracy. Judge Alsop, now Judge Chen, Judge Coffenor. I mean, all of the great things about federal courts you can see on display in San Francisco in one courthouse. We break it all down for you on Legal AF, the podcast. Take a listen. Dina, why don't you take the lead about Judge Chen and the temporary protective status that is given, it has been given to 1.7 million people, including those from Venezuela and Haiti, going back to the 1990s. And right before they left, Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Director, Secretary for Biden, extended the status, but then it was attempted to be revoked by Kristi Noem 4 days into her tenure. And now these people were facing deportation. Why don't you talk about who these people are, what the judge find in that case, and what the national injunction is?
There's so many disturbing Trump orders and actions, and this is certainly one of them. So Judge Chen, a Ninth District judge, as we know, the judges in the Ninth Circuit, kind of the Western region, kind of save us many times. They tend to be liberal. And here, this judge kind of saving hundreds of thousands, more than 1 million, as you say, people who have temporary protective status. This particular order had to do with 350,000 Venezuelans. This is how many people legally were able to stay here, and Department of Homeland Security, as you said, Kristi Noem was trying to revoke it. And he found the revocation was arbitrary, capricious, unlawful, the same terminology we have seen in the judge's orders about basically all of the Trump actions with DOJ. They're firing, not following the law, just basically deciding that they want to do what they want to do and they don't care what the law says. And it's one thing when you're doing it to grants, how awful that is, of course, because a lot of people depend on the grants. But this is basically separating families, deporting, fathers, sons, daughters, grandmothers, children. It's like the most depraved thing possible. And this judge stepping in and stopping it. And we are not just talking about the 350,000. As you said, there's 1.2 million. There's 500,000 Haitian immigrants that are under this protective status that they're going after next. So, when Trump talks about like the Venezuelan gangs and the criminals, there were people out there who believed it for some reason, but I think the rest of us understood that he is going after brown people, and the easiest brown people to kick out of this country are the ones who are on, let's say, the most flimsy, legal have received legal status most recently, right? Or are in this temporary status, right? It's much harder to kick out a citizen, but he might go there at some point. But he's starting out kicking out people who are legally here, but don't look like he wants them to look, right? So I think we cannot ignore that fact that he's going after. There's people with temporary protective status that aren't coming from countries where they end up with brown skin, but this is clearly the countries he's going after. And just kind of as a side note, we've been talking a lot about the big firm attack. When I was at one of the big firm I'm not even going to say their name because I don't even want to put it out there. Trump hasn't gone after them yet. One of the pro bono things I did was help people get asylum protection. And the amount of legal process somebody has to go through to get asylum is, you don't just land here and then say a story and are given asylum. And this is not exactly the same situation because it's a different status, but I just want people to realize it is very difficult to be granted things like TPS, to be granted things like asylum. Somebody has to show up. They have to have a lawyer. In this case, I was a pro bono lawyer, but they have to show up. They have a lawyer. They have hearings. They have to submit documentations. They have to testify. The other side can argue, why they shouldn't stay. There's a whole process here. And so these people, these hundreds of thousands of people have shown up, have gone through that due process, have proved to a court and a judge why they should be allowed to stay, have been granted that legal status. And then Kristi Noem, with just like signing a statement, thinks she can take that all away. And that's why Judge Chen said no, because in this country, it's not that easy to take away people's rights.
Absolutely. And Judge Chen also questions whether she has the ability under the statute and the inherent authority to revoke her predecessor's order. He doesn't think that she does. He also thinks that she has violated, as with the Trump administration, equal protection under the law, because when they make statements like these are scum from shithole countries that we need to get off the streets, that are all gang members and murderers and released from prisons and mental hospitals, courts do a funny little thing called strict scrutiny to make sure that this is not racially or discriminatorily motivated, and they're not going to pass that test either. So thank you for standing up for those. I know people who are in the temporary protective status. I live here in Florida. I know many people in the proud Venezuelan community. Donald Trump should know many people in the proud Venezuelan community because his golf course, Doral, is jokingly referred to by people living there as Doralzuela. It is a heavy amount of Venezuelans. There was another town here in Florida when I first got here 20 years ago. That was it's known as Weston. It was known as Westonzuela. It's a hardworking group, and the judge also quoted stats that he said were unrefuted by the Trump administration, unrefuted because they can't. That the people in the temporary protective status, especially from Venezuela, are harder working, generate more taxpayer dollars, are more likely to be college graduates, and commit less crimes than the average American. Welcome back. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so that you don't have to. We do it twice a week in a full-length podcast, about an hour long, at that same intersection every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Midas Touch YouTube channel. I co-founded it with Ben Meiselas. We do our show together on Saturdays. On Wednesdays, I do the show with Karen Freeman-Agnifilo. Sitting in there was Dina Sayegh Doll, one of our leading legal commentators. Lawyers talking about things that they know what they're talking about. How unique on YouTube world, especially when it comes to shows like this. This is why we have risen to the top 10 in the world. It's all you, not us. Again, all you, not us. We welcome you. If you know about Legal AF already and you already enjoy our show, stay with us. Appreciate you taking a moment. Subscribe to Midas Touch. Subscribe to the Legal AF MTN YouTube channel. If you don't know about us, welcome. I'm Michael Popok. I invite you to join our next show. And if you know about us, you want to help us grow organically, we don't have a marketing department. We are the marketing department. Send that clip off to people in your life and ask them to join our Wednesday and Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time show and anywhere you can get podcasts from. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.